And will we get to that? Is that part of the process as he takes his time away from the Memphis Grizzlies?
Damichael Cole of the Memphis Commercial Appeal knows who Ja is, knows the answers to all these questions that we have. You've heard what we had to say for the last few minutes, Damichael. First of all, nice to see you, brother. Nice to have you on the show. Appreciate you coming through. The floor is yours, and take us not only wherever you want to go, but where this conversation needs to go.
Yeah, first of all, appreciate you for having me, guys. You know, we got Mike and Damichael, you know, now on the show. But with that being said, there's a lot of kind of, you know, misunderstood things with Ja Morant, but a lot of it is, you know, clear as well. The case with Ja Morant here is a lot of his, you know, true values go back to how he was raised, and it's for better or for worse, as you two can attest. You know, it's also, you know, something that's common in our communities growing up in those black communities. One word I like to go back to when I refer to Ja Morant is the word loyalty. When you think about the word loyalty, you think about that, you know, that is one of the words, you know, in the black community. You got a brother, you got a sister. If something's happening to them, you better go out there and help them, or you're getting in trouble. You're not coming back in the house if you let something happen to them, and so forth. So with Ja Morant, it's not just him. It's this big group. It's his entourage. You know, some people say, oh, should he be around these people? You know, he should distance himself. And for better or for worse, Ja Morant is going to ride with the people, you know, around him. And that's kind of, you know, why this conversation has gotten to where it is. You know, he's very loyal to the people that he came up with, you know, so to speak. So that's a big part of it. You know, even if you look in the video, you know, that everyone saw with him brandishing the gun, the guy who was right behind him was his best friend from growing up, which is the same guy. If you remember the incident, you know, from the Pacers, from the athletics report, that's the same guy who was eventually banned, you know, from games at the FedEx Forum, you know, Grizzlies home games. So there's a lot of things right there. And when that happened, Ja, you know, of course, he's going to ride with this guy. He didn't feel like he did anything wrong. So that's a big part of who he is as a person. But, you know, he's only 23, and you've seen a lot of the older NBA vets kind of talk about, you know, he's got to understand that you might have to distance himself from some people that he really cares about. But I don't know if he's ready to do that yet.
That's a tale as old as time, Damichael. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I was just going to say, if he's not ready to do that, so what happens when this sabbatical is sabbatical / exile, any way you want to describe it? What happens when this is over?
He's got to reconfigure some things from the inside. I think he can keep, you know, those people around him to a certain degree, but Ja Morant has to say, look, I can go out, but I can't get on Instagram Live and brandish a gun and do things like that. You know, there are so many other players who go out in the NBA. That's not, you know, you guys know that's nothing new. I mean, that's every road trip these guys go out, have a good time, etc. But with Ja, as someone, you know, being around him, covering him the last 2 seasons, he really takes a liking to being one of the few NBA players, as he tells us, as he tells me, he shows us his real life. And, you know, there's good in that, right? Because we get to really see an authentic version of Ja Morant. And then there's bad, because it's like, look, Ja, some things you just don't supposed to show us, and some things you simply aren't supposed to do as a $200 million athlete, as, you know, one of Nike's biggest, you know, endorsement deals, you know, Powerade, Hulu, Body Armor, the list goes on. You are one of the faces of the NBA. You can't live like a normal 23-year-old. And that's what he's still grasping. But you know what? Going back to your original question, Michael, I think the thing is with him is when he comes back, everything he said in that apology, he has to showcase it. He has to tone it down a little bit on social media, and he has to, you know, really, really be intensive about the things that he does from this point forward.
So what I was going to say was, this is all a tale as old as time. There's no new things under the sun. He's not the first kid that came up and wants to stay true and stay loyal to who he was, who he is, and to his people. I get all that, but the thing I struggle with is, like, this doesn't look like peer pressure at play. This doesn't look to me to be somebody just following the wrong crowd. Like, He's driving the bus. Like they're with him because he's him, and they want to be a part of his world. Everything begins with choice. And Ja Morant is making the choice, not because he's got some code that he's got to honor, not because I don't even call him Ja Wick, which, if there is some levity, that is funny. This isn't somebody bringing a marker to Ja. This isn't somebody bringing a mark comedy. There you go. This isn't somebody bringing a marker to John Wick saying you got a blood oath that you got to honor. So now you got to go brandishing weapons and threatening people and shit. Like, this is all unnecessary. Like, if this is if this the life, you said, Damichael, he wants to show us his life. Bruh, put this life behind you. Put this life behind you. Because before you know it, the loyalty that you're practicing is going to be tested in reverse. Because you will lose everything, and those same friends that you're being loyal to, let's see how loyal they are to you when you're back to having nothing. Because this is all like, what's the point in him practicing his lifestyle? Because I'm here to tell you, it ain't cool. So I struggle to give him the out of he's just being loyal to his friends. Then find new friends. Find better friends. Maybe they were your friends in a previous season in your life. I don't mean to get preachy on you, Damichael, but I'm saying like who is going to, maybe it's Steven Adams, who's going to pull him aside and say, get it together before something really bad happens?
This is the time, for that to happen. And just, speaking about, just Ja Morant, over the course of his career up to this point, as you guys were just talking about, this isn't the first, instance where it's felt like, hey, Ja, you need to get some things together. But in the past, when those things happen, the Grizzlies, teammates, everyone kind of stood 10 toes down behind Ja Morant to the point where I can see if he felt like, in a way, he probably couldn't do anything wrong. I would say it didn't feel like, there's been enough accountability there. And this is the first time I've seen accountability to this level. And this is the first time we've seen, publicly a Ja Morant apology. So this is the tell-all right here.
You think this was a wake-up call? Okay.
It has to be, because in the past, it's all been, man, leave Ja alone. Leave Ja alone. You go back to 3 days ago, right? Look at the statement provided from his agency and from his lawyer. They used the words, irresponsible and defamatory when they talked about the Washington Post's report, on what was going on around Ja Morant. So again, you don't see, those words used loosely. And there were also, those were thoughts of, his Ja Morant and his lawyer taking legal action because of some of the things that were said, against him in those reports. So they went from that 3 days ago to here. And I mean, this is the tell-all right here. This is really either going to be the big turning point, or we could be talking about, one of those big what could have been type situations.
Look, Damichael, those statements are all great. But what I know is, without that reporting and without him publishing on IG, what is he doing in the dark? What haven't we seen that Ja Morant is doing? So it's like the statements are cool. What's the actions that he is taking to say, you know what? You have my attention now. I gotta change. There needs to be a paradigm shift with him and anybody else that wants to still be in his inner circle. Otherwise, find a new circle. Circle gets smaller, everybody can't go. That's Nipsey Hussle, in case you're wondering, Ja Morant. Nipsey Hussle from the street. Circle gets smaller, everybody can't go. Damichael, welcome to our circle. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.